Good morning. My name is Cristobal, and I am here today to share with you a message to give you some comfort and hope. All right, September 16th. This Bible verse is from 1 Kings 17:3, and it says, "Hide in the Kerith Ravine." God's servants must be taught the value of the hidden side of life. The person who is to serve in a lofty place before others must also assume a lowly place before his God. We should not be surprised if God occasionally says to us, "Dear child, you have had enough of this hurried pace, excitement, and publicity. Now I want you to go and hide yourself. Hide in the Kerith Ravine of sickness, the Kerith Ravine of sorrow, or some place of total solitude from which the crowds have turned away." Let's see. "And happy is the person who can reply to the Lord, 'Your will is also mine. Therefore I run to hide myself in you. I long to dwell in your tent forever and take refuge in the shelter of your wings." That's Psalm 61:4. Every saintly soul that desires to wield great influence over others must first win the power in some hidden Kerith Ravine, quote-unquote Kerith Ravine. Acquiring spiritual power is impossible unless we hide from others and ourselves in some deep ravine where we may absorb the power of the eternal God. May our lives be like the vegetation centuries ago that absorbed the power of the sunshine and now gives the energy back after having become coal. Lancelot Andrewes, a bishop of the Church of England and one of the translators of the King James Bible of 1611, experienced his quote-unquote Kerith Ravine, in which he spent 5 hours of every day in prayer and devotion to God. John Welch, a contemporary of Andrewes and Presbyterian who was imprisoned for his faith by James VI of Scotland, also had his quote-unquote ravine. He believed his day to be wasted if he did not spend 8 to 10 hours of isolated communion with God. David Brainerd's ravine, quote-unquote ravine, was the forest of North America while he served as a pioneer missionary to the American Indians during the 18th century. And Christmas Evans, a preacher of the late 18th and early 19th centuries, had his long and lonely journeys through the hills of Wales. Looking back to the blessed age from which we date the centuries, there are many notable quote-unquote ravines. The Isle of Patmos, the solitude of the Roman prisons, the Arabian desert, and the hills and valleys of Palestine are all enduringly memorable as those experienced by the people who have shaped our modern world. Our Lord himself lived through his Kerith Ravine in Nazareth, in the wilderness of Judea, amid the olive trees of Bethany, and in the solitude of the city of Gadara. So none of us is exempt from a quote-unquote ravine experience where the sounds of human voices are exchanged for the waters of quietness that flow from the throne of God, and where we taste the sweetness and soak up the power of a life hidden with Christ. That's from Colossians 3:3. All right, so last thoughts about that message is that how many of you are pretty stressed out about just life and the hurried pace and all of our responsibilities? I would suggest finding your Kerith, quote-unquote Kerith Ravine, your place of solitude. You know, a place where you can get away from your responsibilities for a time, whether it's children or other responsibilities, maybe a spouse, and a place where you don't have any distractions. You're not on your phone, you're not watching TV, no book, or maybe a book, who knows. But just, a time to breathe, a time to just breathe, a time to meditate, a time to pray. That's what we all need. We need to slow down. I hope this blessed you. Bye-bye.